3 sham marriage years with the city's underworld kingpin, and he wound up in bed with my stepsister. Afterward, Hunter, who once swore I was his life, scrubbed his skin raw in the shower, dropped to his knees, and begged, "Luna, I hate myself, but they doped me, I couldn't stop. Please, don't find me disgusting." I wrote it off as an accident and, soft-hearted, forgave him. 3 months later, he strolled in with his arm around a pregnant Sienna. "Luna, she's carrying my child. My father will never let Hawthorne blood wander loose. Forgive me one more time, I beg you. You can't give me a baby. Later on I'll put your name on the birth certificate, okay?" I chose to believe I had no choice. Later, when Sienna miscarried, he was certain I'd orchestrated it. Hunter seized my throat, fury and disappointment dripping from every word. "Hate me if you want. I'm the one who slept with her, who got her pregnant, but why punish an innocent child? They stripped me and hurled me into the pit, then made love in front of me while I bled. It's all right, Sienna, we'll have another baby." I curled in agony, feeling my heart ripped beating from my chest. When I finally crawled back to the Hawthorne estate, viper venom had already devoured one eye. I had become a cyclops. Calmly I located Victor and knelt. I've kept Hunter's secret, his azoospermia, for 5 full years. My time is up, I'm leaving. I returned to the estate 1 year later. I'd languished in the pit that entire year while Sienna delivered twins. Only then did Hunter, in grand generosity, haul me out. 12 warm-scented months. A beauty in his arms, toddlers cooing, picture-perfect domestic bliss. Sienna, belly swollen again, sat enthroned at the center of the adoring court. The instant Hunter saw me, his smile froze. Reflexively, he shielded Sienna and the babies. "Lou, honey, you're back? You should have called. I'd have sent a car." His eyes held barbed wire. Though he'd already flayed my heart, it still hurt. Once he had knelt, worshipful, claiming I was the embodiment of every desire, his sole goddess of love. "Luna is my wife in this life, my one and only." Now he recoils as though I'm toxic, desperate to shove me beyond the gates. Sienna peeked from behind him, the engagement ring he'd personally designed for me blazing on her finger. When she noticed my stare, he guiltily reached for my hand. I sidestepped. His face darkened, but he kept his voice level. "Luna, Sienna has borne me 2 children and is carrying a 3rd. It's just a ring, don't be petty. I'll buy you another, all right? Don't spoil the day." His gaze landed on the bandage over my right eye and he sighed. "You know you're my wife, on paper and in my heart, the only woman I love. Back then I was furious you couldn't conceive and jealous of Sienna, so round and round, the fault always ricocheted back to me. Had I forced him into Sienna's bed? Had I ripped the condom open? Had I ordered him to knock her up again and again? He was the victim, I was the villain. Shut up." My ragged scream startled Hunter. Sienna's eyes instantly reddened. "Sis, please, I'm sorry. I was only thinking of the baby. After all, you can't know how motherhood feels." "Oh, did I say something wrong?" I knew the taunt was deliberate, but I didn't care. My attention had snagged on the locket necklace at her throat. My pupils contracted. I lunged and tore it free. "My mother left that to me. No mistress's daughter is worthy to wear it." A crimson welt flared across Sienna's neck. Hunter shoved me to the floor, glaring murder. "Sienna wanted it, so I gave it. How dare you rip it off? You already killed one of her babies. Are you after the next? Bitch!" Sienna whimpered, gently pushing Hunter aside to fix me with wounded eyes. "It's my fault. I've made you sad, sister." She lifted the birthday cake glistening with strawberry jam and offered it, voice trembling. "When I deliver this child, I'll leave. Don't be angry. If you hate me wearing it, I won't. Today is the twins' birthday. Take this cake as my apology, please." At the sight of that red glaze, I staggered backward. I caught the smirk curling her lips before she let herself topple. Ever watchful, Hunter caught her mid-fall. He booted me down, my skull cracked against marble, blood sheeted over my throat. Sis, I only wanted to say sorry. Why push me? Hate me if you must, but the baby is blameless." "Darling, our baby will be okay, won't he?" Hunter soothed her, tenderness dripping. "No harm will come, not while Daddy's here." Hearing them call each other husband and wife flayed me alive. I sat in a heap and laughed, cold and hollow. "You know perfectly well whether I pushed you." Hunter's face was thunder. "Luna, you disappoint me. I told you your title as Mrs. Hawthorne is permanent, yet you still scheme against Sienna, against her child. She's your sister. Must you destroy her?" I steadied myself against the pounding in my skull. "Hunter, I did not shove her. The estate is rigged with security footage, check it." He snorted. "Check what?" "Your vicious track record speaks for itself. No need for tapes, I already know. You're so twisted now you lie without blinking. Did you really think I'd still trust you? Eat the damn apology cake, Willing or not, you're finishing it tonight. I thrashed like a trapped animal, terror widening my eyes. No. You know strawberry jam is a trigger. You can't do this to me. When I was 16, my mother leapt from the 6th floor clutching the jar of strawberry jam she'd made for me. By the time I found her, blood and jam had melted into one red lake across the grass. That sight became the nightmare I'll never scrub from my skull. Hunter's eyes were glacial. His fingers viced my chin. Then let's experiment, see if it actually kills you. Watch her. She moves until the cake is gone. My mouth was stuffed with strawberry jam. Hunter's idea of special treatment. Hunter, I hate you. The only answer was his back disappearing up the stairs with Sienna wrapped around him and the smirk licking the corner of her mouth. His men ignored the blood dripping down my forehead and my blind eye while they rammed the jam-soaked birthday cake down my throat. An hour later, I lay vacant on the parquet, a puddle of blood and vomit under my ribs. Everyone stepped around me as if I were furniture, so I hauled myself upright and lurched for the staircase. Outside Hunter and Sienna's door, I caught the sounds no sister should ever hear. Ah, baby, gentle, don't hurt the little one. Hunter's voice was thick with lust and restraint. I swear I just felt our kid kick. Missing daddy already, huh? The words almost sent me retching again. Hunter, who once knelt and sobbed that he was too filthy for me. Who is this man whispering to another woman? I tried to leave, but Sienna's next sentence nailed my feet to the carpet. Honey, if Big Sis finds out her mom's grave was dug up and Ding Dong's ashes swapped in, will she hate me? She won't. Her mother's ashes are already swirling in the sewer. Who's going to sift through grit to check whether it's human or canine? Ding Dong is Sienna's poodle. Hunter knows perfectly well it was Sienna's mother, the mistress, who hounded my mom to suicide. He knows how I despise Sienna, despise every Voss. Yet he flushed my mother's ashes down the drain and parked a dog's remains in the resting place I chose for her. More nauseating noises seeped through the door. My legs felt poured with lead. I couldn't lift them. Each syllable carved another slice from my heart. But after enough cuts, I realized I'd gone numb. Probably the organ had already died under Hunter's serial disbelief and lacerations. Near midnight the fever hit. Through the shimmer I saw Hunter's silhouette. Luna, how did you burn this hot? The ache of concern in his eyes. I hadn't seen it in forever. Yet when his lips brushed my forehead, the memory of what he'd just done to Sienna surged up and I retched, spewing bile streaked with blood. No disgust, he dabbed my mouth with tender care, then spoke daggers. Luna, Sienna needs care and a name for the baby's sake. Don't worry, it's only a sham marriage. Once she delivers, I'll register the child under you. You'll stay the rightful Mrs. Hawthorne. I love you. Be good, let hubby press your thumbprint, okay? He mashed my thumb into the red ink and stamped the divorce papers already waiting. Satisfied, he walked out without a backward glance. The lady's feverish. Keep her quarantined so she doesn't infect Sienna. No wandering. The instant the door clicked, laughter spilled out of me. Ridiculous. The man who once treasured me above oxygen had devolved into Sienna's clown. Since my return, he hadn't asked once about my blind eye. Fine. Signing saved me effort. 7 full days, Hunter never reappeared. Then an unexpected tread thudded in the corridor. I knew before the knock, Victor. I rose, light-headed, and drifted to the window. Mr. Hawthorne, I'm done covering for you and your son. I'm leaving. Victor's face was cold steel. He snorted, stepping beside me. Smart girl. I'll have you escorted out, somewhere Hunter will never look. As he turned to go, I smiled. Tell me, Mr. Hawthorne, your son has azoospermia, yet you're the one siring his heir. Should Sienna's child call you grandpa or daddy? His hand clamped my throat, fury flushing his cheeks, pressure spiking. Warn you, cross me and I have 10,000 ways to bury you. My face purpled, but the grin stayed. Try it. See whether you kill me first, or the news goes viral first. I wiggled my phone, Victor's grip snapped away. What else do you want? Gulping air on the carpet, I tilted my head up. I want Sienna's mother to share my mother's fate. Her ashes flushed, no grave, no peace. Victor lapsed into leaden silence, then gave a curt nod. Hold your end, keep your mouth shut. He left, stillness swallowed the room. I'd known Hunter was azoospermic since our premarital physical. To shield the Hawthorne name, Victor begged me to claim I was barren. Because I loved Hunter, I agreed. Never imagined Victor would bed Sienna and hang the pregnancy on Hunter. Whatever happens, Sienna carries Hawthorne blood. For Hunter's sake, endure a little longer. So I endured, and what did it earn me? The more Hunter loved Sienna, the more patience he lost with me, the less he trusted me. I ended up with a blinded eye and a mother who died without even a grave. Sweetheart, What are you thinking about? Hunter slipped his arms around me from behind, the scent of Sienna's perfume still clinging to him. I said nothing. He pressed a kiss to my neck. I want to talk to you about that property of yours. My pupils shrank to pinpricks. I shoved him away. What are you planning to do with the house my mother left me? He caught my hand, gently smoothing my hair. It's just sitting there empty. Sienna's mom isn't well. The place would be perfect for her retirement. Give it to her. I swear this is the last time. After this, the whole mess of you hurting Sienna is wiped clean, okay? A chill crawled over my skin. My fingertips trembled. Hunter, do you have to stab me in the heart with the person I love most? You own half of Eastbrook. Why mine? Can't you see Sienna's doing this to humiliate me? His eyes turned cold. How many times do I have to say it? The only reason I'm good to her is the baby. You're the one I love. Why won't you compromise for me just once? You killed the child in her womb, and all I did was make you suffer 1 year. What good does it do you to keep going after her? It felt like a fist of fire lodged in my chest. Tears of injustice spilled over. Enough. Stop the act. Your tears are worthless. I'm here to notify you, not to discuss. That's it. Tomorrow I'll take Sienna to transfer the deed. Stay put and don't force my hand. Looking at him, I'd never felt more wronged. The man who once couldn't bear to see me cry now snapped that my tears were cheap. Exhausted, I nodded at last. Do as you like. You two are the legal couple now. I'll step aside so your perfect family of 5 can be happy. Hunter froze, pupils flaring. What did you just say? He clamped my wrist, fury churning in his eyes. Luna, how dare you push me toward another woman? Eyes red, I stared back, stubbornly silent. In the end, he only brushed a placating kiss across my forehead and left. Next morning, he dragged Sienna off early to finish the paperwork. Victor pushed open the door. You can go. Everything's settled. Don't forget your promise to me. I lifted the suitcase I'd packed long ago. I walked out of the Hawthorne estate under perfect sunlight and never looked back. Hunter, I've left you a magnificent present. Enjoy it. In the years ahead, may you and Sienna grow old together. In the middle of signing the transfer, Hunter felt a sudden stab in his chest. Cold sweat dotted his brow. What's wrong, honey? Are you sick? Sienna clung to him in worry, mostly afraid that without him the deed couldn't be finalized. I'm fine. For the first time, he shrugged off her concern and stalked outside to light a cigarette. The memory of my hopeless, resolute face from the night before gnawed at him. This time I really was hurt past healing. He had never seen that look in my eyes, empty, numb, as if I were about to vanish from his world for good. Restless, he dialed his bodyguard. Is my wife home? Put her on. He suddenly needed to hear my voice. The line played a recording I'd made in advance. What is it, Hunter? My tone was gentler than it had ever been, and his heart steadied at once. As long as I wasn't angry. He started to speak, but Sienna tugged him. Come on, honey. Without you I can't finish anything. He hung up in a rush, missing the mechanical loop repeating at the other end of the line. When the paperwork was done and the celebratory dinner eaten, it was late night by the time they returned. He soothed Sienna to sleep, then came to knock softly on my door. Luna, it's me. Are you asleep? Not a whisper answered him. Tonight Hunter was unusually patient. I know you're mad, but I didn't put the house in Sienna's mom's name today, only letting them stay there. Can you open the door and talk to me? Deathly silence. He lit another cigarette, agitation climbing. Luna, there's a limit to throwing tantrums. So I had you sign divorce papers. If you truly loved me, you wouldn't care about a piece of paper. Or is it the title of Mrs. Hawthorne you love, not me? Damn it. I've spoiled you rotten. He left, but not before summoning guards, voice icy. If she refuses to come out, keep her locked inside. She sets one foot out only when she's on her knees apologizing. He never turned back, so he missed the bewildered looks on the guards' faces. Has the boss lost it? The lady inside already left. Who knows? Word is the divorce is final. In a couple days we'll have a new Mrs. Hawthorne, the ex-wife's own stepsister. The boss sure knows how to play. On the 7th night, well past midnight, Hunter kicked my door in. For 7 straight days irritation had coiled around his heart, refusing to loosen. Sienna's cloying voice grated, her perfume choked him. Even the twins had lost their charm, their bickering splitting his skull. He blamed it all on my stubbornness, convinced the deadlock was my refusal to yield. Luna, have you finished throwing your little fit? The costly oak door splintered under his foot. The room was pitch black, dust hanging faintly in the air. A chill shot up from the soles of his feet. He flicked on the light with trembling fingers, the glare making him squint. His legs locked, pupils shrinking. Empty. The room looked as though no one had ever lived there, icy barren, the last trace of my cool scent long since erased. Where is she? Hunter's voice came out a cracked rasp, panic threading every syllable. He spun around, snatching the nearest bodyguard by the collar, so hard the man's shirt seams shrieked. His eyes were blood-red slits. The men swapped uneasy glances, the one in his grip swallowed hard. Boss, the missus, she left the day you took Sienna downtown to file the paperwork. You said she just had a tantrum, told us to let her cool off, so we didn't stop her. Hunter's heart lurched. That night, Luna standing at the window whispering, "I'll give you what you want," flashed through his skull. It hadn't been a tantrum. She'd been saying goodbye. Impossible. Where the hell could she go? She's got no one left, no parents, no family. She only ever had me. Once that had been true. And still he'd thrown her to the vipers, blinded her in one eye, forced bite after bite of that strawberry jam birthday cake down her throat, made her hand her mother's last keepsake to a woman she despised. She had begged, God, she had begged, on her knees, voice raw. He'd rolled his eyes and slammed the door. Her silence and tears had grated on him like sandpaper. Get out, all of you, get out! He staggered room to room, flinging drawers, stripping the bed, until he reached her side of the walk-in. His knuckles scraped the cedar paneling, a hidden spring clicked. Inside the tiny compartment lay a single ivory envelope. This cubby had been their secret truce flag. Whenever they fought, Hunter would slip an apology letter inside and wait for Luna to forgive him. Victor's men hadn't bothered searching it. Hands shaking, Hunter unfolded the sheet. No salutation, no signature, only a few blurred lines where tears had pooled and dried. Asterisk Hunter, I kept your azoospermia secret for 5 years. Because I loved you, I let you make me small. Now that I don't, I finally have the courage to leave. May you and Sienna grow old together, surrounded by grandchildren. Asterisk. Every word hissed like a branding iron on raw flesh. Azoospermia. The premarital medical file his father had buried. He'd never laid eyes on it. If Luna told the truth, then Sienna's twins, the babies he'd worshipped, the ones he'd shoved Luna into the pit for, and the unborn third now swelling Sienna's belly. A coppery tide of bile surged into his throat. The room darkened at the edges. He crushed the paper, knuckles crackling. Fake, it's fake. She's punishing me. Lying. He muttered it over and over, clutching the last straw. They're mine. Sienna's kids are mine. Paternity test. Right, a paternity test, now. He stormed into the master suite. The wedding photo over the mantel was gone. In its place loomed a studio portrait of Sienna cupping her baby Bump, flanked by gilded frames of the twins. The whole decor had been repainted in her favorite dove gray and blush. Sienna reclined on the sectional, one hand tracing slow circles over her belly, the other holding a tablet playing Brahms' lullaby. Both children lay curled on the daybed, breathing evenly. Domestic bliss, until the door exploded inward. She shrieked, tablet clattering. Honey, what happened? Hunter didn't hear her. His stare, razor-edged, venom-laced, was fixed on her stomach, then on the toddlers rubbing their eyes, confused wails rising. He scooped the twins up by their pajama collars and tossed them into the guard's arms. Hunter, have you lost it? You're scaring them. Sienna scrambled to stand. Hunter whirled, the feral glint freezing her mid-motion. Hospital. DNA tests. Now. The ride downtown felt like the hush before a hurricane. Sienna shivered in her silk robe, mascara still smudged from sleep. Hunter stared straight ahead, fingers drumming a death march beat on the steering wheel. Asterisk, he knows how? Victor swore the family name would never let me speak. Asterisk. Corridors echoed under Hunter's polished Oxfords. Midnight neon painted the vinyl floor green, then red. Honey, please. One look and she swallowed the rest. Technically she could scream, but 2 guards flanked her like stone bookends. Red lettering glared from the lab report Hunter snatched. He hurled it straight into Sienna's face, paper edges slicing her cheek. His hands snapped around her throat. Bitch! Sienna's nails clawed uselessly. Black dots floated in her vision. No, listen, there's a mistake. They're mine, huh? Mine. A short, savage laugh tore from his chest. He fisted her salon-perfect hair, yanked her off the floor until her scalp burned. Tell me, whose spawn are they? She couldn't. Truth would buy her a grave. And no. Victor barreled in, shoving Hunter back. Hunter watched the man he'd idolized cradle Sienna, stroking her disheveled curls. Understanding detonated like a flare. A laugh crawled up his throat, broken, raw, endless. My esteemed father, my beloved woman. Ha. Ha 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 ha, wonderful, just wonderful. Victor steadied his trembling son with a wary palm. I did it for the Hawthorne line. Flashbulbs of memory. Luna forced to swallow bitter fertility brews, called barren, spat on, because he believed she was the broken one. And every crime he'd committed for these miracle children thudded home like a boomerang wrapped in barbed wire. He suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and staggered back, collapsing onto a chair. Then I really have to thank my dear father for exercising a daddy's rights on my behalf. Father, the man he had respected, trusted, and leaned on for half his life. By now what else was there left to misunderstand? For the sake of the so-called Hawthorne bloodline, for the continuation of the family name, his own sire had supplied the seed and delivered that whore into his bed. He had made Hunter a thorough, laughing idiot, cradling bastards like treasures, and, worst of all, had tortured to death the only woman he had ever truly loved. His Luna, who had lost an eye and endured this nauseating secret while he tormented her for so long. Arg! Like a madman, Hunter ripped Sienna from Victor's trembling embrace and hurled her to the floor. Without mercy, he raised his foot and drove it into her belly. No, my baby! Sienna's shrill scream stabbed his ears. He silenced her by knocking every tooth from her mouth, leaving her choking on pain. Then he slammed her full force into the nearest wall. Crack! A pool of blood quickly gathered beneath Sienna. Inside, a fully formed baby girl. My child. Curled in the crimson puddle, Sienna clutched her cramping stomach and wailed in despair. Hunter didn't even glance at her, bloodshot eyes fixed on Victor, who stood to one side. My wonderful father, watching your own children call me daddy must hurt, doesn't it? A bad premonition flooded Victor's chest. How about I reunite your happy little family of 4? Hunter had been a lunatic long before I met him. Whoever betrayed or harmed him ended up worse than dead. Guards, gouge out Sienna's eyes and those 2 bastards, then throw them into the pit. As for you, my dear father, you can stand there and watch your own son get bitten to death. Or I can send you all on the same trip. I didn't go to the place Victor arranged. The line I left behind was enough to drive Hunter insane. If he found me, I wouldn't get off easy either. After crisscrossing half the globe, I ended up in a small Swedish town where the people are simple and kind. I kept tabs on the news back home. Hunter had locked Victor up. Viper venom ate into the old man's spine, leaving him incontinent and helpless. Sienna received the same treatment I once had, only worse. What pleased me most was her mother's supposed accidental fall from the 10th floor balcony. They say there wasn't enough left of her for a proper burial. Serves her right. I knew Hunter leaked these details on purpose, a gift of vengeance meant for me. So to thank him, I dialed a long-unused number. Hello, 911. I'd like to report Hunter for first-degree murder. Years with the Hawthornes had acquainted me with plenty of their filth. While with Hunter I'd gathered incriminating evidence to hold against his father. Now it became my sharpest weapon. To my surprise, the arrest went off without a hitch. Only, the suspect says he'll confess everything, but only if he sees you. Could you come back? I sighed after hanging up. What must come will come. Hunter, after all these years of marriage, this is the last time. He'd lost weight, cheeks sunken, beard scraggly, nothing like the commanding tycoon he once was. Luna, I'll own my crimes. I only beg one thing, please don't hate me. His voice was pleading, eyes brimming, gazing at me with hopeless love. I gave a cold laugh. Hunter, do you honestly think I still love you, that I've guarded your secret all this time because I'm afraid you'll break? He stared as if the answer were obvious. You thought I didn't know how Sienna's mother ended up beside my father. You thought I didn't know how my own mother died. For the sake of your possessiveness, you wiped out my family and cut off every path of retreat I had. And you expect me not to hate you? I slammed the table, everything in my eyes pure loathing. Yes, I'd known Hunter's game from the start. To possess me, he framed my father for infidelity, had someone push my mother off a roof dressed up as suicide. He manufactured crises to drive me into a corner, then swooped in like a savior. But every torment I'd suffered came from his hand. Seeing his disbelief, I tossed the final bombshell. Oh, forgot to mention, you can father children perfectly healthy. That azoospermia? I faked it. Hunter's head jerked up, teeth clenched. What did you say? I said Sienna's twins are yours. The affair between your father and her? I orchestrated it. You butchered your own flesh and blood, murdered your children. Understand now. Hunter lunged, trying to throttle me, but the officers pinned him to the floor. Luna, why? Why do this to me? Arg. I crouched, gazing at him with feigned innocence. Just taking a page from your book, my dear husband. I walked out, leaving his heart-tearing curses behind. Lovely weather. Dad, Mom, I'm going to have a bright, brilliant future. Thanks for listening to today's story. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it? If you enjoyed the video, Please like and share it with friends. We look forward to your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more gripping tales. See you next time.
The moment the ceremony ended and the guests drifted off, a woman burst in, eyes brimming with tears. "Serena, Phoenix grabbed the wrong ring. The one you're wearing is mine. Can I have it back? Please?" I stared at her, blank. "How do you grab the wrong diamond ring? You must be mistaken. Let me call Phoenix and sort this out." When Phoenix arrived, he flicked a tiny band at me. "This one's yours. The diamond was my gift to Faye, stop trying to claim it." I hurled the ring to the grass. Phoenix's face flamed. "What the hell? You will not insult Faye. Apologize. Now, and if I don't, then we divorce, let's see who ends up ruined." He assumed he could walk away with half my fortune. Too bad I was flat broke. "Serena, how dare you throw the birthday gift I picked for Faye on the ground? Pick it up and say you're sorry." Faye glared, quivering with righteous fury. A dry laugh slipped from my throat. I'd planned to keep the spectacle minimal, but these two insisted on a show, so I obliged. "Phoenix, you're actually demanding an apology? Look at your own stunt first. On our wedding day you brought 2 rings. I'm your wife, what is she? What did you give me? A knockoff. And what did you give her? A diamond? Let everyone judge, does that sound fair?" Cornered, Phoenix scooped up the diamond, shoved it at Faye, then turned the color of cement. "What's that supposed to mean? You want a divorce so badly you're smearing us?" He paused, jaw ticking. "Fine by me. When we split, you'll return every dime of bride price, every gift, every cent I ever spent. Don't even think of keeping a penny." Watching him bare his teeth, I shook my head in disgust. How had I ever fallen for such a shameless con? Phoenix whipped out his phone and waved it at the onlookers. "Check it out, Serena's shopping spree on my card, all logged. Thousands in a single week." Before I could speak, the crowd erupted. "Serena, have a heart, Phoenix works himself raw and you blow through cash like water? 300 for a blouse, who do you think you are, some trust fund princess? No pedigree, yet you play the diva. Poor guy's saddled with you for life. Pay him back and stop leeching." I never touched his money, I shot back, steady as steel. My words were met with jeers and more spitfire accusations. I shifted gears, explanations could wait. "You claim I milked you, fine. Who bought that car outside?" Phoenix rolled his eyes and spat on the turf. "You paid for it, big deal. It's a used sedan on a car loan, an embarrassment to drive. I'm drowning in monthly payments while you keep bleeding me. Take the heap back, but reimburse me for every installment first." Done. I pulled out my phone and Venmo transferred the amount on the spot. He flung the keys at my feet. "Keep your trash. I'm done polishing your leftovers." Then, voice cracking for sympathy, he addressed the circle of guests. "You have no idea, she hands me hand-me-downs and calls them treasures, thinking I'm too dumb to notice. I stayed silent because I loved her, but she keeps gifting me junk while she splurges on herself. Disgusting." The crowd roared its approval. Thank God the truth's out. Imagine the nightmare if this sham had carried on. A woman like that? Divorce her, fast. Phoenix's parents piled on, painting me a villain straight from a true crime podcast. Just then Faye slipped through the ring of bodies, cheeks wet with perfectly timed tears. "Please, everybody, stop blaming Serena. She didn't mean it. Deep down she's good, maybe her parents just failed her. Let the wedding continue, today should be Phoenix's happy day." More tragic sobs. The picture of fragile innocence. Phoenix can't stand a crying woman. Faye's tears detonated his rage, everything was suddenly my fault. "You vile witch, look what you've done to this sweet girl. I'm done. Divorce, today. I refuse to live another minute with poison like you." The louder he cursed, the harder Faye cried. She tugged his sleeve, voice wobbling. "Phoenix, please stop. It's my fault, I made her angry. Why are you so kind? Even now you defend her." He stroked her hair, then lifted his head, eyes ice cold on me. Apologized to Faye or the marriage ends right here. I burst out laughing. Did he think I'd flinch? I couldn't sign fast enough. An apology? Not today. Smiling sweetly, I answered. Faye dropped the saint act. Then when? She snapped. The day I lay flowers on your grave, expect my apology then. Faye stamped her heel, tears splashing anew. Phoenix, did you hear her? He exploded, finger stabbing the air. Divorce. I shrugged. Ready when you are. Save your breath, my apology arrives after your funeral. Phoenix's eyes blazed crimson as I walked away. Get back here and return the gold band. Faye lifted her chin, tears magically gone. That ring cost thousands. Since you want the divorce, hand it over, unless you plan to steal it. Their friends surged like a lynch mob. Oh no, you don't. Give Phoenix his property first, helping yourself to whatever isn't nailed down? Classic. How many times have you pulled this? Phoenix fanned the flames. Check your bags, people, make sure she didn't lift anything on her way out. A lot of people were rifling through their bags and pockets, as if they actually had something important inside. I slipped the ring off and flung it at his feet, gave a cold little laugh. Give it back to you, couple $1,000, right? After all these months together, this is the most expensive thing you ever gave me. Another laugh slipped out after I finished. That laugh set Phoenix blazing. He wanted nothing more than to slap me. Shameless. You bled me dry, then trashed me? You want to play dirty, fine. If we're divorcing, we're balancing every last cent. That little startup you run? We built it together. Without me there is no company, so half of it is mine. When I stayed silent he kept going, the condo, the furniture, most of it came out of my pocket. Don't expect a free ride. I laughed inside. What effort had he ever put into the startup? The heaviest lifting he did was showing up to banquets and drinking. Other people drank to butter up clients. He drank for the sake of drinking and scarfing food. He wouldn't even greet the customers. All my Eastbrook clients were at the table, and I was the one coaxing them. Phoenix just ate until he was full, then left, sometimes dragging Faye along. That, to him, counted as effort. I'd paid the down payment on the condo. He'd wanted to chip in back then, but his job was going nowhere and money was tight, so I'd turned him down so he wouldn't feel crushed. Now the apartment had magically become partly his. As for the contents, the big-ticket items were mine. Small trinkets, vases, ornaments, fridge magnets, were his. Looking at his shameless face, I couldn't stand another second of bickering. Fine, have it your way. I'll hire a lawyer, we'll tally every asset. I won't touch a dime of yours, and you won't walk away with a penny of mine. After a beat I added, over the years I've handed you plenty of gifts. Anything you threw away, reimburse me at full price. Anything still in one piece, bring it back, every single item. I turned and left without another glance. In the car I replayed the gifts I'd given Phoenix. Limited edition jerseys and sneakers, a Rolex, and a single trading card worth well over $100,000. Most of what I'd picked were collectibles, things that rise in value. Some I'd scored online, I still had the order histories. Others I'd bought in brick-and-mortar stores, no digital trail. Still, I drew up a complete list and texted it to his number. To keep him from denying it, I attached photos of every present. When I'd handed them over I'd usually snapped a selfie with him holding the gift, sweet memories, never guessing they'd turn into key evidence. Minutes later Phoenix called. The moment I picked up, curses poured out of him. Have you no shame? You bought a mountain of knockoffs, maybe 10 grand total, and now you're billing me $1 million? You're money crazy, you disgusting leech. Before I could answer he hung up. He rang again almost immediately, same venom in his voice. You claim those things are real? Where did you even get them? Did you scam someone? While we were together were you seeing other men? Did you re-gift stuff they gave you? I cut him off coldly. Where they came from is none of your business. Return every item. Miss so much as one and I'll take you to court, you bitch. I powered the phone down before he could finish. I'd planned for everything, except how shameless Phoenix could be. The next day he showed up at my door hand in hand with Faye. He hauled 2 cartons out of the car, dumped them on my steps, and kicked one hard. Serena, here's every piece of junk you ever gave me. We're even. From now on you owe me. With that he planted a deliberate kiss on Faye. They sauntered off wrapped around each other. I opened a box. Inside lay a jumble of presents I'd once chosen. I lifted a limited edition jersey, glanced at it, and dropped it on the ground. Hold it right there. These are all fakes. Phoenix pulled open his car door and looked back, grinning. Fakes? Not my problem. If they're fake, that means you gave me fakes in the first place. The door slammed, the horn blared for several seconds while the engine refused to start. The window slid down and Phoenix stuck his head out. I've repaid you, now it's your turn. You know damn well how much I've spent on you. I won't be greedy, just wire me 200 grand. If I don't see the money in 3 days, don't blame me for what happens. For those 3 days Phoenix hounded me like a loan shark, a dozen calls a day demanding the cash. If I didn't answer he texted, he spammed my social feeds, until everyone we knew was watching. On the 4th day he barged into my house with a gang in tow. The moment he stepped inside he acted like the owner, hands clasped behind his back, pacing the rooms like some inspector. I came downstairs and glared. You're not welcome here. Phoenix snorted, turned toward a cabinet. Open that. Let's see what's inside. His men smashed the lock. In the drawer lay several trading cards showing exquisitely drawn anime figures. Phoenix burst out laughing, face full of mockery. Didn't know you had such childish hobbies. Thought these were cartoon wizards from cereal boxes. Ignorant, I thought, amused. These weren't cereal toys, they were limited edition trading cards, each one worth a fortune. I'd already given him one. Because he had no clue, he couldn't grasp their value. Among the hangers-on was a kid who loved cards. The moment he saw the drawer his eyes lit up. He tugged Phoenix's sleeve and whispered, "Those are limited edition cards, worth hundreds of thousands." What? Phoenix squeaked, eyes riveted to the cards. Impossible. A flimsy scrap of cardboard worth 6 figures? If they're genuine, absolutely, the kid whispered with certainty. Phoenix rolled his eyes and pronounced verdict, tight-fisted as she is, no way she bought the real thing. Must be knockoffs. I couldn't help myself. Real or fake, what's it to you? Even if they're fake, I like collecting them. Phoenix's face twitched. Of course it matters. You owe me big, and since you won't pay up, I'll help myself to whatever's in your house. So that was the real aim, loot my things under the cover of debt collection. I waved my phone at him. Lay a finger on anything and I'll call the cops. Phoenix didn't flinch. He straightened his back and laughed loud and long. We're still married, so what's wrong with me coming to my own house? And before the divorce we need to split the assets. Half of everything here is mine, so why can't I bring someone to inventory it? Shameless, I muttered in my head. Inventory away, but I'll bring my own people to cross-check. I suggest you call an appraiser. I've got plenty of collectibles, let them quote you a price. I gave him a long, cool look, then phoned an appraiser and my lawyer. Think you're the only one who can hire experts? Phoenix snapped, whipping out his phone and summoning his own appraiser and counsel. He led his crew upstairs and poked through every room. When he stepped into my bedroom and spotted the row of plush toys and Louis bags, he lost it. Trading cards meant nothing to him, but designer purses and plushies he knew at a glance, authentic. Well, Serena. When we were together I never saw you use this stuff. You blew my money behind my back and hoarded it like a rat. Disgusting. He grabbed 2 Louis handbags and spun toward the door. Arms folded, I leaned against the wall and said calmly, "Those are mine. Touch them and you're on camera. The house has security footage, so we'll know exactly what leaves. So what if I take them? Half this place is mine. You've got 2 more bags, 2 for you, 2 for me, fair and square." I shook my head and smiled. Whether they belong to you is for the court to decide. Or ask your lawyer when he arrives. Taking them now would be theft. Phoenix hurled the bags to the floor and stomped downstairs. 10 minutes later, before our experts had arrived, Faye breezed in with a clique of girlfriends. The instant she crossed the threshold she draped herself over Phoenix. "Phoenix, baby, I missed you." After a cozy moment she shot me a smug smirk, then turned to him. "Let me introduce Lily, top trading card collector. Phoenix asked eagerly, are Serena's cards real? Lily didn't even lean in, she simply shook her head. Fake, absolutely fake. I saw the photos, good replicas, but not genuine. The real ones in my vault. Phoenix grinned, victorious. Got anything to say now, Serena? Still trying to con me? Faye chimed in, syrupy sweet. Maybe she didn't mean to trick you, Phoenix. She probably paid big money, just got duped. Wouldn't surprise me, Phoenix agreed, looking at me like I was trash. Faye sauntered to the display cabinet, plucked out a card, and flashed an evil smile. Then, right in front of me, she ripped it in half. As she reached for a second card, I darted forward and shoved her away. Keep your hands off. Faye lost her balance and hit the floor, eyes brimming as she turned to Phoenix. Phoenix's temples throbbed. He hauled her up and glowered at me. Have some class. Why'd you hit her, jealous? I rolled my eyes. I pulled up the purchase order on my phone and waved it between their faces. I paid 150 grand for that card. You just destroyed it, pay up. Before they could speak, I gave a cold laugh. Don't bother claiming it's fake. Even if it were, I paid real money, a judge will make you reimburse every cent. Faye stared, stunned, then whimpered to Phoenix. She's bullying me. Phoenix soothed her, then snarled, 150 grand because you say so? I say $1. Sue us if you've got the guts. If the court awards you 15 million, I'll write the check. As if you could afford it, I thought, and let the matter drop. Just then both appraisers and both lawyers arrived. The two experts stepped into the living room and froze, eyes widening at what they saw. Recovering, Phoenix's appraiser spotted the shredded card on the carpet. He bent, lifted a fragment, and barked, "Who did this?" For some reason Faye felt invincible. I did. So what? Don't tell me it's real. It is real. A hush fell. Faye shook her head furiously. No way. My friend's the top collector, she has the real one. Her pal had never examined the card up close, but since she herself had paid a fortune for an identical copy, she was certain hers was genuine. Now the expert had called hers fake. Panic flashed across Lily's face as she crouched, retrieved the other half, and studied it. As a seasoned collector she knew the signs. Her knees buckled and she sat down hard. Hers is real, she whispered. Then she burst into loud, racking sobs. How can hers be the real one? Muttering, she suddenly scrambled to her feet and bolted for the door, wailing like a madwoman. Phoenix and Faye stood frozen. So whose card was authentic? Phoenix's face darkened. He ordered the experts to inspect every piece. The specialist lifted the remaining cards, scrutinized them, and said grimly, "In my professional opinion, these are all genuine. If you doubt me, submit them to any authorized lab." My appraiser examined them as well and concurred. Faye shrieked. So what if they're real? She bought them with Phoenix's money, so they're ours, every last one. She lunged to snatch the cards, but the lawyer she'd hired blocked her. Faye, calm down. Out of my way. I paid you, whose side are you on? She shoved her attorney, who sighed in regret for ever taking the case. Watching her tantrum, I turned to my lawyer. Emery, if she grabs my property in a moment, what's the charge? Emery answered levelly, home invasion robbery, minimum a few years, up to 10 plus. Faye froze, then retreated, teary and deflated. Phoenix's complexion kept darkening. He forced a strained smile, struggling to keep his composure. It really is great, we split the money right after we sell it. I couldn't hold back a cold laugh and told the lawyer beside me to spell out, nice and clear, exactly what circumstances allow one spouse to walk away with half the other's assets. Emery calmly explained for both of them. Marital property can only be divided 50-50 when certain conditions are met. The moment you say I do doesn't automatically entitle you to half. First, are these things even community property under Serena's name? Plus, your marriage lasted only a few days, which raises suspicions of fraud. The court will probably refuse to treat some of those assets as jointly owned. The longer Phoenix listened, the more scared he got. He suddenly roared, "Bullshit," then spun toward his own lawyer. The attorney thought it over and offered a limp defense anyone could hear through. Everyone in the room could tell Phoenix had no real chance of grabbing half my fortune. Watching his face crumble in panic, I gave him a friendly reminder. Don't worry about dividing my assets just yet. First, figure out how much of my money you've burned through these past years. Every dollar comes back to me. Faye shrieked. How could Phoenix have spent your money? He has his own, it's you who kept bleeding him dry. Shameless much? You're flipping the script right to the end. If you had an ounce of decency, you'd hand him every penny you own as compensation. I snorted, stared Phoenix down with dead cold eyes. Don't assume I'm blind to your little stunts. And don't forget, anything short of cash leaves a digital trail. We can trace whose money is whose, crystal clear. A few days ago I had the startup pull a full audit. I'll go upstairs and grab the report. Phoenix flinched, then barked at me to stop. Spare me your games. Who knows if your so-called audit is even legit? You love lying. I don't trust a single thing from you. I smiled sweetly. Doesn't matter. I'll let you look anyway. I knew exactly what he feared, being exposed in front of Faye. Faye came from good stock. She snubbed anyone who couldn't match her lifestyle. To win her heart, Phoenix constantly raided my company accounts to shower her with luxuries. If I tabled the evidence, her feelings for him would evaporate on the spot. Phoenix understood that perfectly, muttered one last excuse, then turned to Faye. No point wasting breath on this woman. She makes me sick. Let's get out of here. Stay and see the show, I said without looking back, heels clacking up the stairs as I fetched the dossier. Just as they reached the front door, I called after them. It's all here. Aren't you brave enough to take a peek? Faye couldn't let that challenge slide. She wheeled around, but Phoenix caught her arm. Don't blow up. Let me talk to her. With Faye steadied, he strode over and lowered his voice. For old time's sake, apologize to Faye and I'll write off what you owe. Refuse the divorce if you want, but sign every last share of your wealth over to me. I'll keep you around, but you keep your nose out of my life. I couldn't fathom what sewage filled his skull for that level of shamelessness, yet Phoenix clearly believed I couldn't survive without him. Who on earth fed him that delusion? Faye's boasts outdid even his. A woman like you isn't fit to breathe the same air as Phoenix. But if he still feels something, I suppose I can stomach sharing, if you behave and stay out of our way. Phoenix pulled Faye close and planted a loud kiss on her cheek. Where else could he find such a gem? Absolutely perfect. He eyed me from a self-made pedestal and declared, mostly to himself, that settles it. No need to act coy, I know you can't live without me. With a flick of his wrist he signaled his crew. Like hungry wolves they scattered, some upstairs, some downstairs, grabbing whatever they could. Stop right there. This is robbery. I shouted, but they ignored me. When I tried to block them, two heavies pinned me in place. Faye chirped bright ideas from the sidelines. This witch won't quit. We need leverage, let your buddies have some fun, snap a few photos. Phoenix nodded, clapped his hands. Once the trucks are loaded, my wife's yours for the day, just don't break her. He burst out laughing, tucked Faye's arm in his, and pivoted toward the exit. The instant they turned, a line of suit-clad men filled the doorway. The man in front wore a killing frost on his face. A man who pimps out his own wife doesn't deserve to live. Phoenix and Faye froze, mouths slack. They recognized the titan of industry before them, someone they'd glimpsed at galas they could only attend as plus ones. They weren't fit to tie his shoes. Phoenix forced a grin, voice syrupy. Julian, hi, Phoenix, CEO of Phoenix Media. Julian cut him off with a slap. Shut your mouth. You disgust me. You dare touch my niece? You've signed your own death warrant. Niece? Phoenix whipped his gaze around until it landed on Faye. Maybe there's a mistake? Faye and I are close, I never laid a finger on her, ask anyone. Faye produced a wan smile, eyes on the marble floor. She was definitely not Julian's niece. Julian delivered a second slap, then strode straight to me. You okay, kid? Uncle, you're finally here. Another minute and they'd have torn me apart. I squeezed out a few sparkling tears. Phoenix cradled his swollen cheek, looked from me to Julian, and sudden understanding twisted his features. He spat in my direction. Now I get it. No wonder you could afford all this junk. You've been Julian's kept pet all along. The insults poured faster, fouler. Slut. How long have you two been screwing behind my back? You cheat on me, then want half my assets? Dream on, every cent you have is mine. Julian's glare turned volcanic. Phoenix backpedaled. Julian, it's a misunderstanding. She tricked me too. Had I known she was your mistress, I'd never have touched her. How much of your cash did she blow? Look, those cards on the floor, she bought them with your money. Not that you care, but I thought you should know. Then I should thank you? My uncle's voice carried a razor-sharp chill. Few people had ever known, from the time I was small, that I had an uncle like him. Everyone assumed my family was merely average, yet I somehow kept buying high-end things. In truth, my uncle bought them for me. Some mistook those luxuries for knockoffs, Phoenix and Faye among them. My parents are the drifting sort. They hate being tied down and love a carefree life. Their favorite pastime is traveling hand in hand to every corner of the world. For the sake of fun, they walked away from running the company ages ago and handed the entire thing to my real uncle. I met Phoenix in college, and we fell in love. Back then he seemed honest, hardworking, and ambitious. After graduation we hustled side by side at the same startup. Thanks to my uncle's quiet backing, my own company rose fast. Once I had capital to spare, I helped Phoenix set up a small firm, which is how he met Faye. I thought Phoenix and I would grow old together, but a single diamond ring on our wedding day ripped off his mask and bared his true nature. Within days every ugly habit surfaced, enough to make my heart pound with dread. I slipped my arm through my uncle's, pulled out my driver's license, and told him to show his as well. Here are both our IDs, look carefully and see exactly what we are to each other. Craning his neck at the 2 cards, Phoenix went slack-jawed. The information was plain, we share a surname, and the address lines are identical. When he looked up again, he noticed the family resemblance. Still, he clung to a shred of hope. What does this prove? I've known you since college. If he were your uncle, why didn't you ever let me meet him? If he's really your uncle, why was he a no-show at our engagement? You might fool the world, but you'll never fool me. Uncle lit a cigar, unhurried. You don't believe her, fine. But you'll believe me, she's my brother's daughter. My brother, her father, was my elder by blood. Impossible. Phoenix bellowed the word. Doesn't matter. Uncle's tone was ice. Your company is breathing today for one reason only, you were Serena's boyfriend. Without that title it would have flatlined long ago. Ever heard of Zero Form? That's my friend's company. I made one call, and they signed a blanket partnership with you. But as of today, the deal is dead. Watching Phoenix wilt, I served one last bombshell. Forgot to mention, everything you see here, this house and everything inside it, belongs to my uncle. It's his birthday gift to me. You won't leave this room with a single cent. I turned my back on the shell-shocked Phoenix and looked at Emery. Emery, I'll leave the rest to you. I never want to see him again. Emery nodded. As I walked away, Phoenix crumpled to the floor. Faye tried to lift him, but he flung her off. Get lost. This is all your fault. If you hadn't kept pushing me, things would never have spiraled this far. Faye opened her mouth. For a long moment no words came. What, now that Serena's rich you want her back? Phoenix's eyes blazed. We were fine until you poisoned everything. If you hadn't whined about that diamond ring on our wedding day, none of this would have happened. You were jealous Serena married a catch like me, so you schemed to break us apart, and I stupidly fell for it. Damn me, go apologize to Serena, explain it to her face. If she really divorces me, I swear I'll make you pay. Screw you. Her divorcing you has nothing to do with me. Weren't you the one dying to dump her? What did you say in bed? That you loved me. Now that she's loaded, suddenly she's the love of your life? You're in love with whoever's got the biggest bank balance, is that it? I must have been blind to fall for a good guy like you. You seduced me, now go confess to Serena. He grabbed Faye, trying to drag her after me. Faye stomped on his instep, pain made him let go. She sprinted off. I misjudged you, Phoenix. From this day on we're strangers. Phoenix wandered the street alone. A cold wind hit him, he shivered, slapped himself, and muttered in regret, stupid, stupid, how did I manage to blow it with Faye too? He thought it over and went to beg her forgiveness, but Faye had seen through him. The man cared only about money. The day she ran out, he'd abandon her without a second glance. She gave him no opening, deleted every contact, warned every friend. Don't ever deal with a man like that again, she said. She also spilled every rotten thing he'd done. Within hours, everyone knew exactly what sort of man Phoenix was. Cornered, he came crawling back to me. When I first caught sight of him, I mistook him for a beggar. He dropped to his knees with a thud, pleading, "Serena, I was wrong. Faye put me up to it all, she bewitched me. Give me one more chance and I'll love you for life. We can even sign a prenup, I don't want a penny, only you." Watching him grovel like a dog, I shook my head in disappointment and had security throw him out. Without my uncle's lifeline, Phoenix's startup collapsed under a mountain of debt. When our assets were sorted, he walked away with nothing and was ordered to pay me $4.5 million in damages. I didn't hear about him again for ages. The last whispers reached me at a friend's party. After the bankruptcy, desperate for cash, he broke into Faye's apartment, slashed her face with a knife, and robbed her. The police caught him, he's now sitting in a cell. Thanks for listening to today's story. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it? If you enjoyed the video, please like and share it with friends. We'd love to read your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more gripping tales. See you next time.
On the day I married Julian, his ex-wife showed up with their child in tow. "Daddy, why are you cheating on us and marrying a homewrecker behind our backs? Shameless woman, there are millions of men out there, yet you only have eyes for my dad." The moment those words left her mouth, everyone pointed at me, muttering that I had no decency left. To save my dignity, I forced Julian to tell the truth, that Hartwell'd been divorced for ages and I was no homewrecker. I never expected that, just to protect his ex and their son, Hartwell would pull the wedding band off his finger and fling it in my face in front of the whole crowd. "Skylar, this wedding is off. I'm going home with my wife and child." Hartwell said it as lightly as remarking on the weather, yet the sentence nailed me to the pillar of shame. Guests grabbed whatever was at hand, wine glasses, cake, cups of tea, and hurled them at Mom and me, screaming that I was a shameless homewrecker and that my mother had raised a slut. The shock was too much for her. She died that very night. I cradled her body and sobbed for 24 hours straight. In the haze of grief, I rang Julian's best friend. "You've always been in love with me, haven't you? Here's your chance, marry me, right now." I walked out of Eastbrook Crematorium clutching Mom's urn, tears falling like rain. I was born into a single-parent family. Dad died the night I was born, and Mom raised me alone through every hardship. Only she knew the bitterness, how, at the worst of it, people mocked her as a mistress who'd given birth to a bastard and drove us out. So I despise being labeled a homewrecker, and Julian knew that better than anyone, yet Hartwell still trampled on my feelings. All Hartwell ever did was beg me to be generous, reminding me I'd grown up without a father and asking me to show more kindness to his child. Because Hartwell knew my rawest wound, I kept forgiving, yet Hartwell kept cutting deeper. If the boy cried, Julian would abandon sick, bedridden me to comfort him. One call from Bianca, no matter how late or how fierce the storm, and Julian would leave without hesitation. And on our wedding day Hartwell still chose them. If Hartwell couldn't let them go, why had Hartwell pursued me at all? Why ask me to marry him? I wiped my tears and was about to leave town when Julian called. His voice dripped with worry and apology. "Skylar, I'm sorry. I never told Logan that Bianca and I were divorced, so Hartwell thinks you're the other woman. You know how fragile kids are. I figured you, of all people, would understand." Ha! I knew Hartwell'd use my painful past as a shield, but this time I was tired. I refused to play his pathetic game. "Julian, do you know where I am right now?" "Where?" I gave a bitter laugh. "Eastbrook Crematorium." "Daddy, did you just say you and Mommy are divorced?" "Wara, you're all bad guys, abandoning me, nobody wants me." Julian's child drowned me out with wails. Whether Julian even heard me, I'll never know. The call cut off. I swallowed my grief and turned away, handling Mom's funeral alone. Not a single person attended. I took her ashes back to our hometown and buried her beside Dad. My father had been a firefighter. The night I was born, Hartwell died saving Mrs. Hartwell, trapped in a blaze. So the girl they sneered at as a bastard was actually a hero's orphan. "Mom, sleep in peace. Skylar has grown up. She can take care of herself." I pulled off the one-of-a-kind wedding band Julian had given me and hurled it away. It sailed in a pale arc and vanished for good. When everything was done, I headed straight to Eastbrook City Hall. Clutching my birth certificate folder, I spotted Adrian pacing anxiously from afar. The instant Hartwell saw me, joy flooded his face. "Skylar, you actually came. I thought you were joking. Have you ever known me to joke? Let's go." Adrian seized my hand and held it tight,
afraid I'd bolt. No one understood the mess between Julian and me better than Adrian. The moment the clerk stamped our license, Adrian spun me around in his arms, laughing out loud. But the second the certificate was in his hand, his assistant rushed up to remind him 300 investors were still waiting in the boardroom. Only then did I realize Adrian had left shareholders and partners cooling their heels for me. I urged him to go. Hartwell promised to pick me up the moment the meeting ended. Hartwell even took our license and locked it in his office safe, which left me speechless. I never expected to run into Julian and Bianca outside City Hall. The moment Julian saw me, Hartwell dropped Bianca's hand and rushed over. "Skylar, I need to explain." The moment Logan found out Bianca and I were divorced, Hartwell threatened to kill himself unless we got remarried. If I don't agree, Hartwell says I'm not his dad anymore. Don't worry, after Bianca and I get the license in front of him and Hartwell calms down, we'll divorce immediately. Bianca and I are dead to each other. A smile Hartwell couldn't quite hide clashed with the apology in his eyes. I swallowed the bile in my throat. "I understand. Don't stress, I'll never be petty or angry." Julian looked touched and stepped in to hug me, but before Hartwell could make contact, his son shook a can of Coke and sprayed it all over my face and clothes. "Evil woman, trying to steal my daddy again." Julian started to scold, but Bianca swept the boy into her arms with a wounded look. "Julian, don't you dare. Hartwell's only a baby, you swore you'd never hurt him for some outsider's sake." At those words, the crowd turned on me once more. Homewreckers these days have no shame at all. God, the kid's that big and she's still breaking up their family, disgusting. Julian just stood there cradling the boy, murmuring apologies to Bianca, while the onlookers closed in, shoving me, spitting insults. A flame of rage erupted inside me. "I'm not the other woman, you've got it wrong. Julian divorced her long before Hartwell ever pursued me." "Julian, say something." My sudden fury frightened the child into louder sobs. Hartwell didn't even bother to hide his disgust, didn't spare me a single glance before wrapping his arms around them and walking inside to register. The moment Hartwell left, the onlookers branded me the homewrecker. "Julian, your shamelessness has finally shown me that you and I were never even friends." I returned to the apartment I'd shared with Julian and packed my things without a flicker of nostalgia. Just then, Eleanor showed up at the door. She stood like a queen on her dais, raking me with a disdainful side eye, her voice as cold as crushed ice. "Skylar, you know Bianca's back, don't you?" She flung a certified check onto the coffee table. "Certain money could make me disappear. This sum should keep you comfortable for the rest of your life. You were never the daughter-in-law I wanted, Bianca is." The Hartwell gate isn't open to just anyone. Facing her insults and icy sneers, I no longer bowed the way I used to. I tore the check in half and tossed the pieces at her feet. "Don't worry, Eleanor. I will never set foot inside the Hartwell gate." She hadn't expected the meek girl who'd always cowered in front of her to suddenly bare her teeth. Eleanor grabbed the teacup from the table and flung the tea in my face. "Who gave you the guts to speak to me like that? A gutter rat like you should be grateful to perch behind Julian as his pretty canary. Your ancestors must be burning incense in their graves." I snatched another cup and threw the tea right back at her. "You're wrong, Eleanor. I'm not some slum kid, I'm the orphaned daughter of a firefighter hero. 20 years ago, when Hartwell Manor caught fire, my father, the squad captain, charged in without a thought for his own life and dragged you out. You're alive now, loved by a husband, surrounded by children. But after we lost Dad, we lived every day under ridicule." Eleanor raised her hand to slap me, stopping 2 inches from my cheek, trembling. She said nothing, only pressed her lips into a thin line and stared. For a second I thought she might feel shame, might owe my father a sliver of remorse. But the next moment her palm cracked across my face. So what? Saving me was his duty. Pulling me out was his glory. If Hartwell hadn't rescued me, how could Hartwell have been hailed a hero after death? Hartwell basked in my reflected light. I stood stunned. Eleanor's polish was only skin deep. Underneath, she was a self-righteous hypocrite. Her slap had barely echoed when Julian walked in. Hartwell heard the slap, but not who'd struck whom. Eleanor hurried toward him, clutching her own reddened cheek, tears streaming. "Julian, you're back. I only came to comfort Skylar," and she hit me. Seeing the scarlet welt on Eleanor's face, Julian's expression darkened. "What's this about? I already explained everything with Bianca. You agreed to tolerate it, so why take it out on my mother?" For the first time, Hartwell shoved me hard enough to send me sprawling. I glared at Eleanor with pure hatred. This was the woman my father had died to save. What are you looking at my mother like that for? If you dare this when I'm standing here, what would you do when I'm gone? Julian, I don't blame you for being blind. I'm only here to tell you it's over. If I'd known Eleanor was the one my father saved, I would never have dated Julian in the first place. My breakup stunned him. Hartwell claimed his marriage to Bianca was a family arrangement, devoid of love. Only with me had Hartwell felt warmth, real love. I ignored his babbling and went back to packing. Then dozens of photos pinged into my phone from Bianca. In every shot, Julian gazed at her with naked devotion. Skylar, be smart and leave him. You'll never win against me. We share a child. Julian will never truly abandon us. The message was clear. If I stayed, I'd only invite more humiliation. Between the two of us, Bianca would always come first. Julian stepped in and grabbed my wrist. Skylar, calm down. If we just hold on a little longer, everything will work out. Smack. Julian, you're vile. It was the first time I'd ever hit him. His rotten face sickened me. If you can't let go of them, don't mess with me. Stay and let all of you trample me. What am I to you, your dirty little secret, or the woman you swear you'll marry? You don't even know. Don't ever tell me to wait again. Because you'll never choose me. I shoved the dazed man aside, suitcase in hand, and walked out only to meet Bianca on the landing. She looked at me and broke into a sinister grin. Before I could react, she shoved her child down the stairs. The little boy screamed in pain. Eleanor and Julian rushed out. Bianca pointed a trembling finger at me. Skylar, what have you done? How could you take your anger out on my child, pushing a 5-year-old down the stairs? Hartwell's still growing. At her words, Eleanor punched me, and Julian shoved me down the steps. Skylar, I misjudged you. You pretend to be kind, but you're poisonous. If you can't tolerate a child, then get out. Hartwell stepped past me and scooped the crying boy into his arms, racing to the hospital. But Eleanor wasn't finished. She summoned bodyguards to pin me to the floor. You dare hurt my grandson? I'll make you pay. Such flawless, delicate hands, what a pity they grew on the wrong body. Hack them off. You wouldn't. Aren't you afraid my father's ghost will come for you? Huh. I'll hire a priest to bind his soul so Hartwell can't even haunt me. Do it, stop wasting time. I thrashed with all my strength, but the guards were iron. I saw the blade rise, glinting, and my world bleached white as I squeezed my eyes shut in terror. Suddenly, violent crashes exploded through the room, followed by anguished screams. My hands still seemed to be there, as if they hadn't been chopped off. I opened my eyes with a shudder. The door had been kicked in, and every guard who'd pinned me lay on the floor howling like ghosts. Eleanor had taken a fist to the face as well. Before I could process anything, I was lifted into a warm embrace. His broad, powerful chest and the steady thud of his heart melted every trace of fear. Wifey, I'm here. Every last bastard who bullied you, your husband won't let a single one off the hook. Eleanor froze the moment she recognized Adrian. Adrian, you were Julian's brother. You dare mess with his woman to get at me. Who gave you the guts to bark at me like that? The Hartwells survive by clinging to the Blackwoods, and now you dare snarl at the hand that feeds you. Must be tired of living. She hadn't expected such humiliation from Adrian. Even fuming, she didn't dare lash out. The Hartwells simply weren't in the same league as the Blackwoods. They'd only squeezed into high society by latching onto them. What did you just call her? She asked uneasily. Adrian lifted his gaze and raked her with a glance as cold as if she were a beggar. No warmth, no mercy. I have a legal marriage license. Skylar is my wife, the mistress of the Blackwood name, someone you'll have to bow to and address as Mrs. Blackwood. The color on Eleanor's face turned into an epic montage, black, red, white, like she'd swallowed a fistful of fly droppings and had to gulp them down. I'd been shoved down the stairs by Julian and was covered in injuries, yet I still forced myself out of Adrian's arms. I limped over to Eleanor and slapped her across the face. That slap is for my father, the man who died saving you. From now on, stock up on good deeds. If karma bites again, there won't be a second hero around to rescue you. Eleanor cupped her cheek and glared at me with venomous hatred, but she didn't dare utter a word. I'd become someone she couldn't afford to offend, so I gave her a second slap to drive the lesson home. A dog has no right to glare at its owner. She clearly hadn't thought I'd throw her own insult back at her so quickly. Because of the fall, my head started to spin. As I keeled over, a pair of strong arms caught me. "Wifey, what's wrong?" When I opened my eyes again, Adrian was slumped over my bedside, asleep. I lifted my hand and gently rested it on his head, stroking him softly, carefully. Memories flooded back. Every time Julian had neglected me, Adrian had stood behind me, watching. Hartwell never stepped forward. Hartwell only guarded me from the shadows. I knew Hartwell loved me deeply, but back then my heart belonged only to Julian. Who would have guessed that, after all the twists and turns, the one beside me in the end would be Adrian? "Wifey, taking advantage of me while I'm asleep isn't fair." Hartwell caught my hand and sat upright. The moment our eyes met, we both smiled. "I've prepared a huge gift for Eleanor." Across the hospital, Julian had rushed Logan into emergency care. Only after the boy was out of danger did Hartwell breathe again. Bianca had stepped out to buy fruit, leaving Julian alone with the child. Bored and restless, Hartwell finally remembered Hartwell also shoved me down the stairs. How badly hurt was I? While his thoughts wandered, the boy woke up. "Daddy, I don't want Mommy anymore, she's a bad guy." Julian frowned. Logan had always clung to Bianca. Why would Hartwell say that? "Logan, why do you think Mommy's a bad guy?" "Because Mommy." "Logan, little kids shouldn't talk like that." Bianca stood in the doorway, fruit bag in hand, smiling stiffly at her son. The instant Logan saw her, Hartwell shrank into Julian's arms and refused to let go. Julian assumed the boy was simply being clingy and ruffled his hair with a chuckle. Bianca peeled an apple and handed it to him. "Eat up." Spotting the threat glinting in her eyes, Logan timidly took the fruit. Satisfied, Bianca flashed a smile that quickly turned fierce. "Julian, did you see the bruises on our son? Skylar's a wolf in sheep's clothing. If you still cling to her and plan to divorce me just to marry her, she might end up hurting our boy." To get what she wanted, Bianca hadn't hesitated to shove her own child down the stairs. In ruthlessness, she left Eleanor in the dust. When Julian stayed silent, neither defending nor condemning me, a flash of malice crossed Bianca's face. At that moment Julian's phone chimed with a new video. Eleanor would never know every move she'd made had been captured on security footage. I hadn't let a single frame slip. I wanted every relative and everyone who'd branded Mom and me as homewreckers to see the truth. Hartwell tapped the clip and watched his own mother browbeating me, striking first, spewing cruelty. That was when Hartwell learned the hero who'd saved his mom 2 decades ago was my father. Yet she'd hurled venom at her rescuer and hunted his daughter to the grave. How could this be? How? Hartwell shot to his feet, pain ravaging his face. Hartwell wasn't the only recipient. I'd paid top dollar to push the clip onto every major platform. Those who'd humiliated Mom and me finally hung their heads in shame. His mother wasn't the other woman. I wasn't either. We were an honorable firefighter's surviving kin, cursed by the very people we'd protected. Eleanor was slapped to the floor by Avery himself. "Look at the foul mess you've made." My own wife, venomous, heartless, utterly without conscience. Husband, I was wrong. I'll never do it again. Once regal and elegant, she crumpled under his blows, disheveled and wretched. The moment the footage hit the internet, society nailed her to the pillory. Netizens cursed her to die a dog's death, branded her an ungrateful beast. She didn't dare step outside. She stayed barricaded inside Hartwell Manor. When Julian saw his mother's true colors, Hartwell was livid. Just as Hartwell turned to leave the ward, Logan clutched at him. "Daddy, don't go. If you leave, Mommy will beat me to death." Julian froze, baffled by the child's words. Bianca panicked and moved to silence the boy, but Hartwell was a second too late. The little boy scrambled off the bed and limped straight toward Julian. "Daddy, it was Mommy who pushed me down the stairs." "What?" Julian's eyes snapped wide, fixing on Bianca, who shifted from foot to foot. "Is what Hartwell's saying true? Explain." "No, it's not true. The boy's been poisoned by Skylar." "Enough. Don't even try to lie to me. Logan and Skylar have never gotten along for a single minute. How could she have put him up to anything?" Bianca had no comeback. The guilt on her face had already betrayed her. Seeing it, Julian roared at her in disgust. "So the one who's been hurt all along was Skylar. Damn you, you'd shove your own flesh and blood down the stairs just to frame her? Did it ever cross your mind that if Hartwell died you'd have to live with it?" Julian's palm cracked across Bianca's cheek. Hartwell forbade her to go near the child again, afraid she'd take her rage out on him. After telling the bodyguards, Julian strode out of the hospital. Hartwell remembered the day Hartwell had shoved me down those stairs, and his face went white. Julian yanked out his phone and called me. "The number you have dialed has been disconnected." The cold mechanical voice made his heart lurch. Hartwell tried iMessage next. The text wouldn't go through. An ugly red exclamation mark glared at him. "Skylar, are you angry with me? Do you hate me now?" Hartwell paced, muttering, the hand clutching the phone trembling. It was the first time since we'd met that I had blocked him. Without another second in that place, Hartwell bolted from the hospital and raced home, running red lights all the way. Hartwell couldn't bear the truth. The man who had saved his mother was my father, yet instead of gratitude Hartwell had stood with his ungrateful mother and struck me. When Hartwell burst through the door, every trace of me was already gone. Every corner that had held something of mine was stripped bare. Only then did Hartwell remember breakup day, when I told him it was over. I had meant it. I wasn't coming back. Hartwell speed dialed his assistant. "Find Skylar, no matter what it takes. Turn the whole city upside down if you have to." The moment Hartwell hung up, Hartwell spotted a hair clasp lying on the coffee table and a letter beside it. One line was written inside. "I'm returning what's yours. From now on we're even." That clasp had been the token of our engagement. Because I'd been ashamed, taunted by classmates who called me bastard, I'd always kept heavy bangs to hide my face and my hurt. It was Julian who had lifted those bangs with the clasp, who'd rescued me from their bullying. Hartwell promised that with him around no one would dare touch me again. Hartwell told me to stop hanging my head, to look those girls straight in the eye. The weaker you act, the more they prey on you. If Hartwell hadn't been that good to me once, I could never have loved him so single-mindedly for so long. Julian closed the clasp in his fist. The tremor wouldn't stop. Returning it meant I'd let him go. There was nothing between us anymore. Only after Hartwell lost me did regret set in. Clasp clenched tight, Hartwell turned and left. Hartwell searched everywhere we'd been, my favorite cafe, the park, the music square, our secret garden, but I was nowhere. Night after night Hartwell didn't sleep. Pain and exhaustion carved lines into his face. Hartwell had divorced Bianca. So why had Hartwell still been blind? Why hadn't Hartwell defended Skylar? Why had Hartwell let her and her mother be humiliated as homewreckers? The thought tormented him. Hartwell drowned himself in whiskey just to pass the nights. On the 5th day his assistant finally got a lead. "Mr. Hartwell, when you told me to start with Skylar's mother, I discovered Rose has died." "What?" Julian shot to his feet. "After you left the ceremony, she and her mother were attacked by the guests. Rose suffered a heart attack that night and passed away." Julian collapsed onto the sofa, mouth opening and closing in shock. Now what stood between them wasn't just misunderstanding, an ex-wife, and a child, but a life. For the first time Julian truly repented. Hartwell cursed himself for his indecision that day, for the mess Hartwell could never clean up. "And Skylar?" Hartwell managed at last. "She's at the Blackwood estate. Word is she's marrying Adrian." "What?" Under Adrian's devoted care my injuries healed quickly. That afternoon Hartwell took me back to the university we'd once attended. His large hand held mine tightly, as if afraid I'd vanish. I tilted my head to study his face, nothing but foolish joy and excitement there. Beyond him the campus rolled out, full of beautiful memories, and a few ugly ones. Back then, isolated, I would sit alone beneath the bougainvillea, and there was always someone on the second-floor balcony watching over me. That someone was Adrian. Without him I wouldn't merely have been ignored, I'd have been bullied. You sat right there, eyes glued to Julian, never noticing the man standing behind you. I told myself that if you ever turned around you'd see there was one guy on earth crazy about you. I even swore that if you chose me, I'd never let go, I'd hold this hand for the rest of our lives. Spoken by anyone else, those words might have slid off my heart, but because it was Adrian, I believed every syllable. I rose on tiptoe and brushed a kiss across his full, sensuous lips. "Adrian, I always knew you were behind me. That's why, in the end, I chose you. Not out of pique, but because I'd learned that love's value lies in single-minded constancy." Shock and delight flooded Adrian's eyes. Hartwell pulled me closer and deepened the kiss. Summer wind stirred bougainvillea blossoms, petals whirled through the air. Then a figure streaked toward us like lightning. "Adrian, you've got some nerve stealing my woman." By the time Julian appeared we had already stepped apart, both of us regarding his sweaty, panting form with icy calm. "Whose woman?" "Watch your mouth. You're a married man, and we're both single, an unmarried woman, an unmarried man. What's improper about a hug?" Julian's eyes flamed scarlet as Hartwell glared at Adrian, The air turned leaden. Bianca and I getting remarried was out of desperation. I was terrified our son might hurt himself. Enough, Julian. If you can't let go of your ex-wife and your kid, then don't mess with me. My mom died because of you people. Did you really think I'd keep waiting around like I used to? Heaven knows if we owed you something in a past life. My father gave his life rescuing your mother from that inferno, and my mom died of heartbreak because of your cowardice and shamelessness. If I don't put an ocean between us, I'll probably be next. Would that finally make you happy? Julian's face twisted in agony, tears blurring his eyes in an instant. Hartwell probably sensed how our story ended, yet still begged the universe for my forgiveness. Skylar, I'm sorry, my whole family owes you that apology. Save it. I've already reclaimed justice my own way. As for us, this is goodbye. Don't come looking for me again. Panicking, Julian lunged forward and tried to grab my hand. Adrian blocked him, pulling me behind him like a shield. Move. I need to speak to Skylar. I'm her husband, the legally recognized kind, and you want me to step aside so you can hit on my wife. Adrian's fist slammed into Julian's face, sending him to the pavement. Hartwell stared up at me, dazed, waiting for some kind of answer. You remember the day you and Bianca filed your marriage license? Adrian and I had already signed ours before you two even walked through the door. Those words drove a blade straight through Adrian's heart, then twisted it for good measure. No, impossible. Adrian, give her back to me, damn it. Adrian looked down at him, cold fury freezing his features. Give her back so your mother can hire someone to hack off her hands. Julian froze. What are you talking about, cutting off hands? Skylar, did my mother? Neither of us answered. We simply stared at him, and in that silence I realized I was exhausted by him, utterly, speechlessly tired. Here's one more secret for the road, Julian. You have severe asthenozoospermia, in plain English, you're sterile. So tell me, could that child ever be yours? Julian's head snapped up, every trace of color bled from his face. I'd learned the truth the afternoon Hartwell ate something bad and I rushed him to the hospital for a full workup. The report landed in my hands. I kept quiet to spare his pride. But since Hartwell insisted on haunting me, I decided to give his life a little chaos. Julian's silhouette vanished beyond the campus gate. I knew exactly where Hartwell was headed. Let's go. We're picking my wedding gown. Wedding gown? Of course. You didn't think a bare license was enough, did you? I need a full-blown ceremony that screams to the world, this woman is Adrian's wife, so no one dares touch her. I travel a lot. I need every predator in Eastbrook to know you're off-limits while I'm away. Always, Adrian thinks 3 moves ahead for me. Deal. I reach for his hand, but Hartwell swings me onto his back instead. Wife, for the rest of my life this back is yours alone. I rest my cheek against his broad shoulder, warmth flooding every cell. Mom, you can rest now. Your daughter has finally come home. Clutching a lock of Logan's hair, Julian marches into the lab and orders a paternity test. Outside, Hartwell paces like a madman, praying the boy is his. When the report finally drops, Hartwell reads the verdict and staggers as though struck by lightning. The child isn't his. Julian's ears ring with white noise. The floor seems to dissolve. Hartwell slumps to his knees. My voice replays in his skull. Accept the brutal truth whether you like it or not. Damn you, Bianca, you lied to me. Hartwell storms back to Hartwell Manor, kicks Bianca's bedroom door off its latch, and drags her from the mattress by her hair. Ah, that hurts, let go, you're ripping my hair out. Julian slaps her hard, then clamps a hand around her throat. Whose bastard is that kid, Bianca? Hartwell's not mine. Seeing the fury in his eyes, Bianca's gaze flickers with guilt. The more she shrinks, the tighter his fingers squeeze. So you screwed around and handed me the bill? You bitch, die. Spots exploding in her vision, she snatches a crystal ashtray and smashes it against his skull. Freed, she bolts in blind terror. Her address book's a mess. Truth is, she has no idea who the father could be. Every shouted syllable tumbles straight to Eleanor on the staircase. She blocks Bianca's escape. Slut, you dared milk my son for child support. Slap. Eleanor rains blow after blow, Bianca fights back, and the two lock in a clawing, hair-pulling brawl. They tumble down the marble flight together, shrieking, then lie still unconscious. Julian files for divorce and banishes Bianca from the estate. But Hartwell refuses to surrender the boy. 5 years of bedtime stories can't be erased by a DNA sheet, and since Hartwell never father another child, Logan stays. Eleanor, however, remains comatose from a brain bleed, locked in a vegetative state. That same afternoon, inside Blackwood Manor, a lavish wedding is underway. Adrian keeps my hand clasped in his as we glide down the aisle while bodyguards bar Julian from setting foot on the grounds. Night falls, the gates stay shut. The man who once owned my heart finally grasps that Hartwell has lost the only woman who mattered. Hartwell turns away, hollow, and collapses before Hartwell reaches the street. We never see him again. 3 months later I'm carrying twins, a boy and a girl. Mrs. Blackwood can't stop smiling. Adrian handles my every meal like a bomb technician. Thrilled, terrified, devoted. The storm passes, the sky clears, and if you lift your eyes, there's always a rainbow. Thanks for listening to tonight's story. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it? If you liked this video, smash that like button and share it with friends. We're dying to read your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more gripping tales. See you next time.
The boyfriend I'd been with for 7 years was marrying my Skylar, and everyone knew. Everyone except me. Even my parents kept it secret, terrified I'd crash Skylar's wedding and make a scene. Yet I stayed icily calm, and married another man. They all thought I'd snapped, who though had really made the better choice. When the overtime shift ended, only the drone of laptops and a few lonely lights remained in the office. I sank into my chair, exhausted, and tapped open Instagram. Congrats, Skylar. Wishing you a lifetime of happiness. The post arrived with a scarlet engraved invitation. I frowned, opened the image, and zoomed in. Skylar, Chase cordially invite you. 6 words like a lightning bolt to the chest. The cold glare of the screen stabbed my eyes. I read it 3 times before I believed it. My boyfriend of 7 years, Chase, and my half-sister, Skylar. My fingertips trembled. Mocking laughter seemed to echo in my ears, and tears sprang up without warning. Scenes flashed, Chase's gentle smiles, Skylar's sweet obedience, the seamless calm my parents always maintained, and every memory warped, losing its meaning. Rage eclipsed shock and sorrow. I grabbed my coat, shoved the chair back, and strode out. The night wind slapped me, but heat surged hotter inside. I clenched my fists, one thought roaring. I'm going to that wedding to demand answers. Outside the Grand, flowers flanked the entrance and red double happiness banners fluttered. Ugly jokes to my eyes. The winter air knifed through my coat, yet I felt nothing. Past the crowd on the stage stood Chase and Skylar. Chase wore a flawlessly cut black tux, beaming with joy I hadn't seen in ages. Skylar floated in a white wedding gown, a crystal tiara sparkling atop her head, smiling sweetly, innocently, telling the world this was her moment. My fingers stiffened around my purse strap. As I stepped forward, a familiar silhouette caught my eye, Mother. She sat in the front row, proud satisfaction on her face. The ceremony was clearly no surprise to her. Anger flared. I pushed through the guests. Whispers trailed me. That's Skylar's Serena, isn't it? What's she doing here? What are you doing here? Mother's voice sliced over the music and applause. She rushed up, seized my wrist, and yanked so hard it hurt. Come with me, don't disgrace us, she hissed, dragging me toward the exit. I planted my feet and wrenched free. Disgrace? I'm the one who deserves an explanation. Why am I the last to know my boyfriend is marrying my Skylar? A flicker of panic crossed her face, then hardened. You know Skylar has clinical depression. She can't handle stress. This wedding is to make me happy. Indulge me, don't turn it into a scandal. You know Richard dotes on me. When I'm content, the family stays peaceful. Her words felt like a dull blade, slow slicing my heart. I let out a scornful laugh, eyes blazing. And me, your real daughter? To please some man, you'd destroy me? Before I finished, Skylar and Chase noticed the commotion and walked over. Skylar still wore that innocent sweetness. Chase's smile looked ready to crack. Serena, don't be angry, Skylar began, voice fragile enough to shatter. I know this is sudden, but I just wanted a wedding. I've envied you since we were kids. You had everything. Serena, can't you let me have this one bit of happiness? I gave a cold laugh and locked my glare on Chase. And you? Is this a performance or a public humiliation? Chase's expression twisted, he sighed. It's only Skylar's wish. We haven't filed the paperwork. I just want her happy. Her mental state is fragile, you know that. So a fragile mind entitles her to steal someone's boyfriend? I didn't raise my voice, yet every syllable cut. I turned to Skylar. You wanted a wedding. Fine. But not even a text to me. What does that mean? Hurt pooled in Skylar's eyes, but she said nothing, ever the picture of forbearance. Then Chase's tone shifted. He stepped closer and murmured, "Stop this. It won't end well for you. Your indie game is at a critical pitch, and I'm your biggest investor. Keep this up, and I'll have to pull the round." I stared, feeling I'd never known him. "Chase, are you threatening me?" Without changing expression, he added, "If you stay quiet till the ceremony's over, I'll talk to Skylar and we can get engaged right after. I'm only granting her a small dream. Don't wreck everything." Skylar tugged his sleeve and cooed, "Serena, don't be mad, we really are doing this for your own good." Morgan leaned in, breath brushing my ear. "Your game design is brilliant. I'm sure you'll indulge me, like always, Mom, Dad. Even your boyfriend seemed to be on my side after all. Oh, and your boyfriend's company is bankrolling the whole project for me. Rest assured, Serena." That was the moment I understood. Since childhood, she'd swiped my prize essays, my pretty dresses, my toys, and my parents' love, and now my boyfriend. Because of her clinical depression, everyone told me to give way. "Fine, take everything else, but not this game. It holds every drop of my heart. For my own good." My laugh was frigid. Disappointment and rage crested. I snatched a champagne flute and the tablecloth beside me and yanked. Plates and glasses crashed, crystals shattering across the floor, the sharp explosion snatching every gaze in the hall. "You plotted against me, threatened me, and still have the gall to say it's all for my own good? You're disgusting." I swept a cold gaze over Eleanor, Skylar, and Chase, turned on my heel, and walked out of the vase, leaving a stunned silence behind me. Outside, I unlocked my phone. Predictably, headlines like "Genius Designer Skylar with New Masterpiece" overwhelmed every feed. I stared at the familiar layouts, the familiar concept art. Fury shook me from head to toe. The winter wind bit to the bone as I half-staggered clear of the vase. My palms were still trembling, my ears ringing with the sneers I'd overheard. It felt as though my world had imploded in an instant. Rage, grief, and humiliation twisted together into a knot that crushed my chest and blocked every breath. Suddenly the ground lurched. I tottered, the street blurring, and collapsed in front of a car, consciousness snuffed out. When I came to, a white ceiling filled my vision, and the antiseptic tang of St. Camilla's Hospital stung my nose. I shifted my head and discovered an 4-line planted in my arm. "You're awake." A deep male voice drifted over from the sofa beside the bed. I turned. A tall, broad-shouldered man was sitting there, features carved, eyes calm yet razor-sharp, an effortless aura of power cloaking him. Recognition flashed. Dominic, the rumored crown of Riverdale. "It's you." My voice came out hoarse, packed with disbelief. "Why are you here?" Dominic rose and stepped closer, studying my bloodless face. "You blacked out in front of my car. I brought you to St. Camilla's. Cameron Dominic sent me here." "Thanks. I'll wire you the charges later." He didn't answer. He just kept looking at me with those bottomless eyes. When the hush grew unbearable, I started to say, "If you're busy, you can. There's something else." He paused, gaze sharpening. "The wedding of your boyfriend, and your Skylar is making quite the splash." My complexion drained. "What are you getting at? You think you can keep something like that quiet?" His tone stayed mild, yet every word needled raw flesh. "I don't care about them, but I'm interested in you. Conveniently, I need a wife at the moment, and you're perfect." "Excuse me?" I gaped, unable to process. "Don't misunderstand." Dominic's lips curved, his hands slid into his trouser pockets. "My family is relentless about marriage. I require a nominal wife. You require capital. Your new indie game is nearly finished, yet minus Chase's seed funding you'll stall. What exactly do you want?" Alarm sharpened my voice. "You're not this generous. It's simple commerce." His composure never wavered. "You're done wrestling with Chase. I need a paper wife. We each get what we want. I won't meddle in your private life. In return, I'll bankroll your game, today and tomorrow. And since I assume you'd love to make your ex and your stepsister squirm, I can grease those wheels too." I froze, conscience clawing at logic. I knew Chase would pull the round. This project is my lifeblood. Without backing, it will die in the womb. And I refused to let Skylar and Chase turn the page unscathed. Dominic's money and network could be the perfect weapon. "But marry Dominic? I know nothing about him." "I need time to think," I murmured. "You have 24 hours. He leaned in, voice low and cool. "Still, I'm confident you'll choose what benefits you most. That night I stared at my pitch deck, my baby, every word forged by me. I've already lost once to Skylar. I won't retreat again. One day later, decision made, I signed the prenup and agreed to wed Dominic. My retreat had burned. Perhaps because I'd vanished, Chase texted. Stop being childish. Come back to me. Arrogance dripped from every character. I didn't answer. I simply locked the screen and gave the glowing panel a frigid glance. I questioned my own eyesight. How had I stayed with this man for 7 years? Soon a new message arrived, sharper. Don't imagine you can walk away. You know how I get. Keep this up and I'll pull the round. I sneered, typed fine, fired it off, then erased every trace of Chase from my contacts. Freedom flooded me. Chase would never again occupy a corner of my life. 3 days later the sun blazed. I stepped out of a meeting and my phone erupted, notifications piling atop one another. Baffled, I opened Instagram. A pinned post blared at me. Happy wedding day, Mrs. Voss. Just that line, yet it detonated like dynamite. Below it, a scarlet marriage certificate. Photo of 2 people side by side, handsome groom, composed bride. Dominic and me. My mind rang like a struck bell. Fingers trembling, I tapped open the comments. Pandemonium. Am I seeing things? Crown is married. For real? Who is she? I've never heard a whisper. What's her background? Dominic himself posted the license? Riverdale just imploded. Hundreds of comments still climbing. I even spotted a few familiar handles. Wasn't she Chase's girlfriend? How'd she become Dominic's wife overnight? My fist tightened around the phone, heart a tangle of flavors. I understood. Dominic hadn't shared that post for joy. He was broadcasting to the world. I am now his legal wife, and no one may wield my past against me. Yet the ripple dwarfed my imagination. Meanwhile at him, Skylar doom scrolled. When that image hit her screen, the blood drained from her face. The phone slipped and thudded to the rug. She scooped it up again, eyes bulging at the crimson document. Impossible. How could she marry Dominic? What? Chase, standing nearby, frowned at the words, leaned over to glance at the screen, and his face changed in an instant. Dominic's name was nothing short of a detonation in his ears. Everyone in Riverdale knew Dominic was untouchable, and now his ex-girlfriend had become that man's wife. He dialed my number at once, but only heard the impersonal recording. Sorry, the number you have dialed has been blocked. Chase froze, fingers tightening around the phone until they trembled. He had never imagined she would sever every tie so completely, let alone wind up at Dominic's side. After I powered the phone off, I leaned back in the chair and closed my eyes. I knew the Instagram post had drawn a bright, uncrossable line between Chase and me. I also knew what it would unleash, a storm of speculation and gossip. But I no longer cared. Whatever people thought, I understood this was a transaction, and the starting point of my new life. Those who had hurt me would pay. Dominic had always acted with lightning resolve, and he kept his word. After listening to the entire story, he immediately drafted a meticulous plan. Leveraging his industry web and resources, he assembled an elite unit, seasoned attorneys, technical forensics, and a crack PR squad to back me on every front. Your original design files matter, he said, but we need stronger proof, specific, traceable evidence of the plagiarism. His tone was calm, absolute. He had investigators comb Skylar's company servers and unearth an erased backup. The very cache Chase had copied from my laptop, timestamps and data lineage intact. At the same time, subpoenas pulled the contest judge's records, exposing chronological gaps in Skylar's submission that her story couldn't bridge. Dominic even located Chase's former assistant, fired months earlier and nursing a grudge. He offered insider testimony, how the theft was executed, how timestamps had been doctored, every detail of the con. Evidence alone won't win the crowd, Dominic warned. He ceded my design concept to respected gaming outlets and key influencers, priming the public to recognize my work. Meanwhile, his PR team scripted a narrative for the launch gala. Spotlight Skylar's plagiarism, keep my private grievances off stage, and let the facts rally opinion. Relax, he said, handing me the full run of show, proposed questions, polished answers, every curveball already mapped. Reading the dossier, I felt a turbulence of emotions. 3 days from now, I'll host the Voss's annual gala under the Voss name, he told me. That night, you'll take the stage you choose. From the instant he learned the truth, Dominic moved, decisively, relentlessly, on my behalf. I had thought his promise casual. Instead, he orchestrated every safeguard, down to the finest worry I carried. A veteran crisis team stood ready, so even if Skylar and Chase counterattacked, the headlines couldn't turn on me. Gratitude, thick and complicated, surged beneath my anger. "Dominic," I murmured, watching the man flip through documents, long fingers turning pages as though the future were already folded in his palm. The night was silent, the air laced with chilled green. I pulled a coat around my shoulders and stepped onto the balcony, needing to steady the turbulence inside. The gala was 3 days away, battleground time. Dominic appeared unnoticed, dressed in relaxed loungewear that still looked aristocratic. He carried a mug of warm milk and offered it to me. "Drink, it helps if you can't sleep." I took it and whispered, "Cameron." A moment passed before I spoke again. "Tell me, will I really win tomorrow? I'm terrified, but I want them punished. If I fail..." My voice cracked, the mug trembled in my grip. He stood beside me, gaze steady, infinitely calm. He waited until my breathing leveled, then said quietly, "Being nervous is normal, but you're not fighting alone. The evidence already testifies to your talent, and the truth. You only need to present it." He shifted a fraction closer, voice firm. "From this moment, I'm behind you. Whatever they say or do, keep walking. Don't look back, I'll catch every bullet." There was no melodrama in his words, only bedrock certainty. I glanced at him, and his silhouette seemed taller than ever. "Go to war," he murmured, a faint smile lifting the corner of his mouth. "Not just for yourself, but for every creator who's been robbed of credit." Right there ending. His declaration struck like a gong, scattering the fog of dread. "Cameron, you..." I breathed, eyes kindling with renewed resolve. Dominic merely patted my shoulder, then returned inside, leaving me on the balcony, fingers curled around cooling milk, feeling, for the first time in ages, utterly grounded and absolutely sure. Dominic had chosen a venue that mattered, his own annual banquet, filling the hall with gaming luminaries and national press. Crystal chandeliers showered light over opulence. Conversation sparkled like the champagne flutes in every hand. I entered at Dominic's side, wearing clean-lined elegance, and every gaze pivoted toward us. "Serena, you came?" A cloyingly familiar voice drifted over. Skylar glided forward, champagne flute poised, innocent smile painted on, Chase in tow. Since I'd deleted Chase from every feed, the two had stopped pretending. "This is Dominic's event," I answered coolly. "Why wouldn't I be here?" Skylar sighed with theatrical regret. "I know you're still angry, but we're sisters." "I was wrong. Can't you forgive me? My depression, it's flaring again." Her voice wasn't loud, yet it drew the attention of half the room. Guests turned, eyes flicking between us as if they'd settled in for the next act. "Clinical depression." I arched a brow, a slow smirk tugging at my lips. "So stealing my designs, swiping my milestones, and weaving lie after lie can all be hand-waved with the magic word depression?" Skylar's face froze, but in a heartbeat her eyes were glassy and red, the picture of pitiful. "Serena, I never took anything from you. I just borrowed a few ideas. And anyway, it's not like you suffered any real damage." A few onlookers softened, murmuring, "She's clinically depressed, right? This Serena's being kind of ruthless." Chase watched Skylar sway on her heels, heartbreak all over his face. He barked at me. "Serena, when will you stop? You're sisters. Does it matter which of you gets the spotlight?" A cold laugh rang in my head. I'd grown used to Skylar's fragile act costume and Chase's revolting brand of chivalry. But tonight the curtain was coming down. Instead of sparring, I pivoted. "I hear your new launch gala was quite the hit. Did you come tonight to toast its success?" Skylar blinked, then offered a demure smile. "Yes, this project poured so much of me into it. I even wove personal experiences into the code. Flawless performance." I gave a soft chuckle. "Then let's clarify things right here, right now." I straightened, caught Dominic's eye, and tipped my chin. Reading the cue, Dominic strode to the center of the hall. Welcoming everyone as host, he lifted a champagne flute, toasted, and smoothly tossed the spotlight my way. "Tonight, beyond thanking you all for coming, I want to salute a brilliant indie designer whose work I've long admired, Skylar's own sister, Serena." The compliment landed like a velvet glove hiding brass knuckles. Every gaze snapped to the two of us. Skylar sensed the trap and rushed to drown it in honey. "Dominic is too kind. Serena has always been my role model." My little wins are nothing compared to her. Dominic's smile was almost gentle, as though her panic were a mosquito whine. Pity your homework's so sloppy. The plagiarism techniques, in particular, are crudely executed. Gasps fluttered through the crowd. Skylar's smile jammed. She hadn't expected him to say it aloud. Dominic pressed on. Since it's original, you must know your game's core inside out. Why not share? Tell us what inspired that flagship-level design, for instance. I stepped in, voice chilled. Funny. That fragment looks a lot like a rough draft I shelved months ago. Inspiration or outright theft? A ripple of shock widened into a roar. Skylar's cheeks drained, but she clung to the script. Serena, what are you implying? Are you bitter because I made it first? Dominic moved closer, calm as still water. Bitterness? Let evidence speak. He flicked 2 fingers. On the ballroom screen bloomed my source files. Time-stamped drafts bristling with code snippets, architecture diagrams, design notes. The overlap with Skylar's original release was pixel-perfect. The room erupted. Skylar's lips trembled. No, it's a coincidence. Coincidence. Dominic's laugh was ice-cracking. Then how do you explain the server logs? The display cut to a forensic report. Her unauthorized pull of my laptop directory, routed through Chase's machine, timed and geotagged. Panic shattered her poise. It was Chase. He told me to. He said this would finally eclipse Serena's hype. I only followed his advice. Chase stared, disbelief widening his eyes. Disgust rolled through the guests like a toxic fog. Dominic regarded Skylar with cool pity. Play at being an angel only if you own the wings. Your so-called talent is mortared with someone else's blood and sweat. The mask is off, the stage lights are dead. Skylar's mouth worked, but no sound came. Whispers turned to open contempt. A few photographers snapped, hungry for the fall. Tears streaked her foundation as she spun toward our parents. Mom, Dad, please believe me. Eleanor and Richard stood silent, faces gray, already calculating the cost of a disgraced daughter. Chase opened his mouth. Dominic cut him off without a glance. Vanish while you still can. You're no longer qualified to breathe the same air as Serena. Chase's shoulders sagged. He turned and fled, swallowed by the corridor's shadows. The banquet dissolved into chaos, but the reckoning had only begun. Dominic's crisis team pushed the evidence live on every platform before midnight. By dawn, Skylar and Chase were trending for all the wrong reasons. I paused at the ballroom doors. Dominic rested a steady hand on my shoulder. Come on. We've played our hand. Let time finish the job. I looked up, gratitude flooding me. Cameron, Dominic. Without you, the win would have cost me everything. He answered with a faint smile, lacing his fingers through mine as we walked into the chill pre-dawn air. The next morning, every major gaming outlet ran the story in screaming headlines. Plagiarism, betrayal, and the CEO who let it happen. Chase, listed as company chief, couldn't dodge liability. Within days, industry veterans formed a rare united front, issuing statements. We will not collaborate with Chase or Skylar, now or ever. Partners pulled out, seed funding vaporized, and the share price nosedived 70% in a week. The board, cornered by investors, voted Chase out and changed the locks. Skylar, battered by the same storm, wasted no time sacrificing her co-conspirator. She went on camera blaming Chase, insisting she'd merely been persuaded, desperate to sever the toxic tag now welded to her name. He told me to do it. He said as long as we played it this way, we could crush her and become the top design team in the city. During a media interview, Skylar didn't hesitate to sling mud, even hinting that Chase had emotionally manipulated her. Those words enraged Chase completely. Whatever star-crossed lovers, aura they'd shared shattered, and the two burned their bridge for good. After Skylar's fake clinical depression and serial plagiarism were exposed, netizens dug deeper and discovered she hadn't only stolen designs. She'd repeatedly abused her position to smother smaller competitors. Teams she'd once crushed began speaking out, unveiling her shameless track record. Success you win through plagiarism and intimidation is nothing but a sandcastle. Sooner or later the tide will wash it away. That was the verdict the online crowd handed her. A clip of her once smug interview went viral, overlaid with mocking bullet comments. Once high and mighty, now a laughingstock. The fallout surrounding Chase and Skylar didn't only clear my name. It also focused unprecedented attention on original indie games. People began to reassess the value of independent designers, and anticipation for my project surged. I poured my own design philosophy into the new title. When it launched, it exploded onto the charts, breaking sales records and becoming an industry phenomenon. Players flooded the forums. At last, an indie game with real depth. Throughout this stretch, Dominic backed me on every front, assembling a world-class dev team and smoothing every distribution channel. I didn't waste his faith. One hit followed another, and I soon stood at the very pinnacle of the field. Those who had sneered now looked at me with new respect, while victims who'd believed Skylar's act offered apologies and sympathy. One afternoon, Dominic and I relaxed in the small garden outside the office. Watching the sunset, I turned to him. "Why did you help me?" He was quiet for a moment, his gaze soft. "I saw you in college. You were confident, brilliant, light in your eyes. Just standing there, you drew every ounce of attention. I thought you'd keep rising, but then I heard you'd handed every opportunity to your boyfriend and Skylar, fading behind their spotlight. It felt like such a waste." He chuckled low. "I wanted to see what would happen if you got another chance." I stared, stunned that his motive had been so simple. Then he lifted his gaze to mine, utterly earnest. "Later, I realized I was falling for you. So let me ask, would you consider staying with me?" I looked into those expectant, gentle eyes, replaying everything he'd done. My heart gave a sudden tug. I didn't answer at once, but I already knew I was learning to lean on this man. Just as my new life was taking off, Chase appeared. He'd somehow found my address, gaunt and haggard, dropping to his knees, voice cracking. "I'm sorry, Serena. I was wrong. I only pitied her. How could you just marry someone like that?" His plea was soaked in regret, but my heart had long gone cold. The wounds he'd dealt, threats, betrayal, were carved too deep. "Chase, did you really think kneeling would fix anything?" I smiled faintly. "Relax, it's only a marriage certificate. Haven't had the wedding yet." The echo of his own old line froze him mid-breath. Before he could speak, a low voice drifted from the staircase. So I'm still nobody." I turned. Dominic descended slowly, a towel wrapped around his hips, lazily possessive as he slid an arm around my waist. "Serena, care to explain?" Chase's face drained of color. I didn't spare him another glance. I simply shut the door with a decisive click. I looped my arms around Dominic's neck and laughed softly. "How could that be? You're my one and only husband, Dominic." One lazy afternoon, I lay content in Dominic's arms while he fed me strawberries, and a push notification blinked. Skylar was now behind bars. Chase, blaming her for his downfall, had shown up at her place in a rage. Skylar, already unhinged, career gone, reputation shredded, family disowned, snapped during the shouting match, grabbed a knife, and stabbed him. Blood spattered the walls. Chase collapsed, whimpering. Neighbors called 911, and surgeons barely saved his life. Skylar was convicted of attempted murder. The woman who once believed she could script every outcome now wears a prison jumpsuit, the pair of them reduced to late-night punchlines. I stand on the stage of my new game's launch gala while the crowd roars its applause. Cameras flash, fans cheer, but my eyes drift to the man in the corner who never left my side. Dominic meets my gaze with a smile of unshakable trust and pride. Those old scars, those betrayals, they're just footnotes now. I've reclaimed my career, rediscovered my worth, and found someone who chooses to guard every dawn with me. Thank you for listening. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this story? If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and share. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more tales. See you next time.